Hello, today I'm going to be installing a Thetford ventilator kit on our Caravan toilet. We've been using organic tablets in our toilet for the last 18 months or so, and they work pretty well, but on warmer days in particular you do tend to get a bit of a smell that permeates throughout the Caravan, and it's just enough to be unpleasant. And I'd read really good reviews about the Thetford ventilator kits, and it does appear relatively easy to install, so I'm going to give it a crack and hopefully show you the steps I've taken to install it. Okay, so I ordered my kit online. If you do shop around, you'll find it for a fairly affordable price. Yeah, it's worth taking a few minutes because the retail prices vary quite considerably. So the kit is a electric ventilator kit for the Thetford toilet model C260 and various variants of the 260 model. So if I open up, the kit's fairly comprehensive. It includes an instruction manual, which you can also find on Thetford Australia's website. I've already read through the instructions to make sure I've got what I need for the install. There's a box of goodies, and this includes an assortment of pieces necessary for the install. You've got a small circuit board. This gets installed in the base of the toilet at the rear. There's a new circuit board and switch assembly that replaces the switch on the top of the toilet on the inside. There's the small electric motor, various rubbers and cable ties and the like to help with the install, and finally a new sticker to replace the old sticker on top of the flush mechanism on the toilet. You also get a carbon filter which goes in the base of the toilet under the canister. I'm not sure how long the carbon filter lasts for, so we'll run it, I guess, until we start to notice smells. I have read that one of the downsides was the cost of these filters. Again, I've noticed on Amazon Australia they tend to be the cheapest when it comes to retail prices, but like anything, shop around because the retail prices vary considerably. And last but not least, there is this tube that gets installed in the floor of the Caravan underneath the toilet. It's designed as the external vent for the gases, and the fan and the filter sit over the top of it, and that's where the gases get extracted. In addition, there's a range of other things that you'll need to help with the install. Most of the tools people will find in their tool shed, they're very simple, screwdrivers and the like. But what I've bought specifically for the install is a hole saw. It requires an 85mm hole saw. For life of me, in South Australia, I couldn't find an 85mm hole saw, so I've gone with an 86mm hole saw. I'm sure it won't make any difference at all. Some silicone. I've bought the Sika marine grade silicone, and it acts as an adhesive and sealant, and when it sets it remains rubberized. So it's a very good quality product for helping keep the water out. The kit, the ventilator actually has screw holes in it, and the instructions do suggest that you screw it down in addition to this using silicone adhesive, but the kit doesn't actually include any screws. So I've just bought some stainless steel screws. When it's installed, you won't have access to the screws, so best to get stainless to prevent any rusting. I bought 2 packets, one with a round head, one with a flat head, just depending on what works best. And then the ever old faithful Sharpie. I've always got a few lying around my toolbox, but typically they never work, so I bought a new one for the job, and this is an essential requirement for marking out where the hole is to be cut for the external ventilator. So without much ado, let's get into it. So one of the first things the instructions require you to do is to check the serial number in your cassette, which is located on a sticker once you slide the actual toilet cassette out of the cavity. I've also taken the opportunity to give the toilet area a really good scrub with Ajax, just for precaution. A lot of bacteria in here, and you don't want to get it over your hands. So once you've found your serial number, the first task is to undo these 2 screws. They're both Phillips head, and that will remove this plastic cabinet to enable you to replace the circuit board. They're pretty easy to pull out, not tight at all. And instructions do warn you that the wires are fairly taut, so don't go yanking it. And here is our circuit board right there. And just gently pull it away. There we go. And I'll grab that's it like that, and I'll grab the new circuit board. So that's the new circuit board. I mean, essentially it looks the same, but has some additional circuits in it to operate the fan. So just gently pull that off. And just should easily slide back in. It's that simple. You'll notice that there's some holes cut into the board, and that's where the sides of these plastic circuits slide into, so you can't really get it wrong. And then you just very gently clip it back into place without breaking the circuit board. Done. and then that can be reassembled. So once you've got that far, the next steps involve actually removing the toilet fixture itself. So depending on the model, if you've got an external filling station, you'll also need to remove the screws from that, which actually hold that water reservoir to the wall of the caravan. My model doesn't have one of those. And according to the instructions, the removal requires undoing 4 screws that go into the floor of the caravan, as well as unclipping a 3-wired circuit, and mine's permanently plumbed into the water, so also disconnecting the plumbing from that. It's a particularly cold day today, so let's hope I can do that without covering myself in water. So here are the 4 screws, and one over under the torch there. And this is what it looks like on my cassette. So you've got some plumbing here, and you've got some various wiring held on with a cable tie. There's actually only one of those connected, so that should be fairly easy, as should the removal of the plumbing connection. So let's give that a shot. Okay, next bit is the plumbing and electrical. Okay, so I've noticed here that these are connected to red and black wire. My finger's in there, red and black. And just to remind myself, even though one wire's got a black line, extra precaution, I'll just label those with a bit of masking tape. Okay, and they easily pull out like so. Just put that around there to remind myself which plug. Oh, so it's pretty obvious, saves confusion later on. Okay, so the next bit is getting the plumbing sorted. Oh, wrong screwdriver. Okay, appears like it's just a John Guess fitting. Okay, so it's just a small clip that sits in under here that needs to be removed, and then you can close up the white bit onto the blue, and the hose then pulls out fairly easily. So just put that in a safe place. Hopefully we don't find there's too much water that comes for the ride. No, that was all very easy. This is the toilet. This is the one with the porcelain top to it, and hopefully now that is able to come away from the wall. So I'll just pop the camera up. Definitely has released it from the floor, but there appears to be something holding it to the wall. So okay, so we've hit a slight snag. It appears that there are a couple of screws sitting up behind here, and that's not in the instruction manual. So later on in the instructions, you have to actually peel the sticker off because it gets replaced with one in the kit. So I'll just gently do that now. You see how easy that is to remove. I'll put that out of harm's way. And then you have to pop out the circuit board because it actually gets replaced. Removing the circuit board is pretty simple. It's a flathead screwdriver in here and it just pops out quite easily like that. I'll put that to one side. In actual fact, we don't need to unscrew it, we can just probably clip off that cable tie and replace it when we reinstall it. So I'll just go get some snips. Away we go. Of course, the snips are never anywhere to be found when you need them, so some tin snips will suffice on this occasion. I'll just gently pop that there. Hopefully now the toilet easily comes away, and it just clips over on mine, and that's it, nice and free. So just need to unravel the cords through the hole. Okay. Oh, I just had to clip it. I just need to remove the cable tie that was around the wires and the pipe to enable the toilet to lift off the wire and pipe array. So that was pretty simple. And now our toilet is ready for the next stage. Okay, so we now have the toilet removed. Pretty simple job in the end. And the next stage is to remove this cover, apparently. So it's just a single Phillips head screw in here. So let's do that. Comes up pretty simple. And then the next stage is to remove this and to remove this square piece. So just grab a Stanley knife to help. It's pretty easy to remove if you've got a sharp Stanley knife. It's already a lighter plastic to enable its removal. So the next section is getting ready to drill the hole through the floor, and to do that you have to place the toilet back in situ so that you can mark out where that hole has to go. My strong suggestion is to attempt to screw it back in where it came from, so that you're absolutely sure that it's in the right location. Okay, so putting the toilet back temporarily so that it comes out. So the toilet comes back temporarily, and it's here that we want to mark a hole so that we can get the hole saw and drill the hole. So it's pretty important to get it in the right spot. So I'm just going to put a couple of these screws back in, make sure. Okay, so I've got 3 of the 4 screws back in. One's a bit temperamental, but I think that's enough to shore it up. So get the trusty Sharpie, and we'll draw our location for drilling into the floor. Also need to check under the Caravan. I'll drill a pilot hole first, but it's quite possible that I'll need to relocate that as well. It'll be very close, so I don't think there's an issue where the pilot hole will go, but we'll wait and see, eh? Now that I've drawn the holes for the screws, I can remove the screws and remove the toilet again and drill the hole. Okay, so I've now marked a hole in the centre of the hole that we want to drill out with the hole saw. And what I'm going to do is first of all drill a small pilot hole through, just to enable me to check the proximity to where the hole saw will land to the water hose and the fixture under the floor there, and then the intent will be, providing I don't need to move anything, I will drill the hole saw both initially from underneath the Caravan as well as from the top, and that will prevent any splintering. So as you can see, that's the centre point. Okay, so I've put the drill through, and as you can see, it's right in proximity, so I'm going to have to relocate that water hose. Okay, time to drill the very large hole. Get it in the pilot. I've just started on that. I'll just do the underneath as well. Simple as that. Beautiful. So now the next job is to silicone and screw this in. That won't be too difficult. I might just get the vacuum cleaner and have a bit of a clean up before I do that. So in the silicone in, just be mindful of the holes here, because you remember that this is where the toilet actually sits onto the floor, so you don't want one of these inadvertently sitting in proximity of that. So the instructions say to silicone from the bottom, but I'm going to silicone from the top as well, particularly given that my hole saw was just slightly bigger. Okay, plenty of silicone there. Slot him in. Like so. So that's what it looks like from underneath. And I'm just going to silicone that up now. I've managed to move this over, so I'll fix that up as well. That's the finished product. Nicely silicone up. I've relocated the clamp for the hose pipe. I did that by simply pushing that up here. So I might just clean that up a little bit, I think. Put some additional silicone in there while I'm at it. And then I'll have to trim that when I put the toilet back in, but yeah, that should set nicely. Okay, so the next bit involves putting the fan together. You have to poke the wires connecting the fan and route it with the other wires. Now, it's not exactly clear in the instructions, but this is the fan, and it terminates in a two-prong wire. So that has to be routed all the way up to the flush button, because there's a little adapter that connects to this, and then that adapter connects to the circuit board underneath the flush button. The other thing that's not overly clear in the instructions is the which way you put the fan on. Whilst the instructions include a section identifying that there's a directional arrow on the fan, it doesn't actually tell you which way it goes. So generally on these little fans, the arrow points the direction of air, and in this case you want the arrow facing to the floor, because that's where you want the air to exit. The other things that are involved in the next stage is making use of these foam cutouts to fit the fan accordingly. Okay, so we're now at the stage where we put the little fan into the bottom of the toilet and route the wire and put some foam in place. So we're essentially up to number 15, 16 and 17 on the instruction manual. I've got to admit, the instruction manual is not super clear when it comes to the application of the foam, and in fact we've got 3 pieces of foam supplied, but there appears to be only 2 pieces of foam on the instructions. Admittedly, step 17 is not applicable to all toilets. Anyway, we'll improvise and move forward. So the fan has a I don't know if you can see that. I can barely see it with my old eyes, but it's got a little arrow on it which indicates the direction of air. Obviously we want the direction of air going outside, so to the bottom of the toilet, and we also have to now route the wires through the little rectangle area that we had cut previously. I'll just show you that. And so this is where the wires thread through, and it comes out the other side, and then we trace those wires all the way up to the top. And when you get those wires to the top, there's a little adapter that plugs into the wire connected to the fan, and then that adapter slots into the new circuit board. So I will just do that now. You get a piece of foam, looks like this. A really big piece of foam, looks like that. And a smaller piece, looks like that. My best guess is this is the one that goes over the top of the fan. And you'll note that it's got a little slit here. That's where the wires are to run through. So we'll put that in place, and then presumably this large one fits over the bottom here, like so. Okay. And now it's time to fit the toilet back in situ. So before I do that, I might just cable tie up the wire to the fan, because I won't be able to do that afterwards. Okay, so here we are, we're getting towards the end now. So we've got to reconnect this pipe, reconnect the wires. This pipe's become longer because I had to push the pipe up through the floor a little bit to relocate the fixing area. Toilet's all back in, nice and firm. So I will now put everything back together. So here's the charcoal filter. You've got to, it's got some stickers over the entry and exit points, so make sure you remove those stickers, or you won't be sucking any air, and not sure how long your fan would work either. And it's got a little recess bit that sits over the fan. I'll take you out. That fits in nicely like that. And your connection goes in like that. Simple as that. Okay, so now we've got to do some magic and get a cable tie back on. Okay, so the next bit is to replace the toilet switch circuit. Remove the old one and put the new one on. So I should be able to do that relatively simply. Pull that one out. Put on the new one, put it in place, take the old one out and go on the new one, like that. And then, you might have remembered earlier I said that there was a connector. I'm going to connect him like so. And I believe bingo. And we can hear the fan on. Okay, we'll tie that up in a minute. Okay, that's the off switch. Okay, so we're on the homeward stretch now. Hopefully I've applied the sticker. In fact, I actually put the old one on because it was still very sticky. It means I can keep the new one just in case anything goes wrong. Okay, so let's check to see whether everything works. Hopefully we've still got a flush function happening. Open the toilet. Right, so it appears now that that's on a bit of a delay. It waits for the fan to actually boot up. So that's interesting. And that's it. Fan's working, flashing away. And presumably that'll self turn off in a moment. And we're at the very end of it now, so all we have to do is one last thing is put this seal over the vent that sits under the canister. I was wondering why we had 3. I should have read the instructions all the way through. Simple ring. Turn the camera around. And that goes neatly in place like that. And that should seal that up nicely, and that is the end of the job. Look, it wasn't very hard, just a bit fiddly at times, particularly for me because the caravan's in the shed and I've got to navigate down the side of the caravan, the shed, to get to the canister. But look, pretty easy job. Yeah, and so now when you press the flush, the fan automatically runs, and it continues to run for a good 5 minutes or so afterwards. It's pretty quiet. You can hear it, but it's only just a very gentle tone, and if you're asleep there's no way you'd hear it, I don't think. And the proof will be in the pudding, so we'll see how we go on our next trip. Thanks for watching, and happy caravanning.